All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Sully, too easy for you? You didn't like the trivia question? You know, it's always easy when you know the answer to it.
Well, I knew 3 guys had been their property, so that made it pretty easy.
All right, well, let's get to it. The Sabres dealt Chris Stewart to Minnesota. He became the 5th former player on the Wild's roster. Which player was never the Sabres' property? And the answer is Kyle Brodzik. There you go. Remember Ballard, he was a first-round pick. Everybody remembers Leopold. Thomas Vanek, of course, speaks for himself. And I guess maybe it was a little easy. I think Ben Sugimoto should be ashamed of himself, actually.
I think he's felt he's been too tough lately with the quizzes.
I guess. All right, well, listen, on the phone right now we have Minneapolis Star Tribute hockey writer, one of the greats in the business, Michael Russo, on the line right now. Russo, how's it going, bud? Thanks for coming on.
How you doing, Bucky?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good.
Hey,
very
what's
good.
it like to cover playoff hockey? I kind of forgot.
It's busy. It's fun. It's a good amount of travel. And my guess is that I'm sitting here in Game 5, and my guess is I'll be back here for Game 7. That's just the way the series seems to be going.
It really is. I mean, it's been an interesting series when you look at the two teams, and they're so evenly matched. I mean, a lot of teams are at this time of the year. That's one of the things I always liked about the NHL was that, a 1 can beat an 8 and does at times, unlike, the NBA playoffs or some of the other situations out there. It actually happens here, but in this case here, you're looking at 2 really good teams, and either one can win it. To me, I'd be flipping a coin trying to pick that thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's such a shame that both these teams had a lock in the first round, because both these teams, in my mind, were potential contenders here in the Western Conference. They're 2 very well-structured, defensively sound teams, with the exception of last game where the Wild completely fell off the rails and lost at home, and worst playoff loss in team history. But there's just Hitchcock was talking today about how just little room there is on the ice, and how he's never seen shorter shifts in his life because there's such exhaustion out there, and there's just it's a tight checking, hard hitting, really compelling series right now.
Mike, Jerry Sullivan, I see Thomas Vanek's ice time is going down in this series. He's not producing. I'm just wondering what kind of criticism he's facing there.
Yeah, it's getting more and more. He's not playing well. There's no doubt about it. You guys know, I mean, at times he could be a real frustrating player to watch, especially in a playoff series where, the workmanlike effort on this team sometimes is very impressive, and sometimes he does stand out. I will say he's gotten a little unlucky in terms of points, and in Game 2, there were a couple plays that very easily could have been goals where he would have assisted on, and Game 3 hit the crossbar, but they need more from him. And I was a little surprised when he came to the rink today, and frankly, that the lines weren't broken up because of both Vanek and Stewart. I think Stewart's had a real tough series as well, and there's no doubt if the Wild are going to be here at the end and advance to the second round, they're going to need both Stewart and Vanek to play better.
Hey, Mike, what do you think the problem is with Vanek? What are you seeing there? Usually here, when he ran into problems, it was one of 2 things, sometimes both. One, he stopped moving his feet and wasn't getting around to certain places where you would expect him to. And 2, wasn't paying the price up front. Although I think that he, by and large, he didn't get enough credit in Buffalo for paying the price. He took a lot of grief here for that when actually he was getting his rear end kicked in. But there were times when he would disappear from the front of the net.
Yeah, it's 100% moving feet. I mean, I just said this to somebody yesterday that I've never looked at so many. I rewatched the Game 4, and I cannot even tell you how many times he was just stationary on the ice. Right? And, you just can't play that way. And so they need more from him with skating. I will say that there have been some also tough plays along the wall where he just, let icings go by him and things like that. And, he's on a line that has the ability to be really good for this team. He's playing with 2 young, big, good skating forwards in Charlie Coyle and Niederreiter, and they really need him to be a quality part of the line. I will say that he had a very big second half that seemed big reason why they made the playoffs, scored some huge goals down the stretch, set up some big plays, and played well. But, in the playoffs, especially in a series like this where there have not been a lot of goals, all of a sudden when you get to Game 4 and Game 5 and you look and you got a goose egg and you're a goal scorer with his pedigree, you're expected to produce.
Right, exactly. Well, one game feels like 2. Did you have something, Sully?
What about the other ex-Sabre, Pominville? As he seems to really fit in there, and people saying good things about him. He had a game winner. Is he everything we came to expect here, just a solid guy?
Yeah, he's one of the best guys to deal with, and he's, it's been a tough series for him, just because even Hitchcock mentioned today they are absolutely swallowing him up, putting 2 guys on him, believe it or not, and really trying to make him pay the price for everything. And so far so good. 4 games in, everybody had a tough game in Game 4, but up until Game 4 he was the second leading scorer in the playoffs with 4 points and a couple goals, and Parise absolutely loves playing with him, and that's the one line that Mike Yeo never touches is Pominville, Granlund, and Parise, and there's a reason why they all complement each other.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you too about Pominville. The one thing that I thought was underrated about him was his defensive play, and I would imagine on a line with Parise, I mean, if you want to set Parise loose and Granlund loose, you better have somebody that can play the other end of the ice, and he always was very responsible player position-wise and commitment-wise. Is that still the case there?
Yeah, and you've got to be here in Minnesota to play that way. Mike Yeo, if he doesn't trust you, you won't get a lot of ice time, and Mike Yeo absolutely trusts him defensively. The only issues, I will say offensively, this year he had his lowest goal total in a full season since his rookie year, and he did seem to, he played 82 games, but he, as more than I've ever seen him, flubbing shots, missing nets, and things like that. And he just seemed to really never get totally in sync. But with him, you never really have to worry about his effort. And again, his defensive, there are so many scorers that if they're not scoring, they can't help you. And Pominville has never been that, at least since he's been in Minnesota.
Hey, Mike, final question, really. If you could just give me what your thoughts on the playoffs around the league a little bit. Who do you like from the East and the West, the way that you're seeing it right now?
Well, I mean, I really, really like the Rangers. I think that they are going to run through that conference. I picked them to win the Cup, and I just think that they're, a fabulous team. I watched them come to Minnesota at the end of the year. I think they're as deep as any team in the league up front. They got one of the great blue liners and a Hall of Famer in net, so there's a lot to like there. In the Western Conference, I will say, I was shocked at how Anaheim quickly dispensed of Winnipeg. I thought Winnipeg came to Minnesota at the end of the year and looked outstanding. And for Anaheim to go in there, come back 3 times, and play as well as they did, I'd be scared if I were the Ducks right now. I really genuinely believe that the winner of this series right here is going to wind up in the 3rd round. I think that Minnesota would love to get a 3rd crack at Chicago if they advance against Nashville. They've eliminated the Wild 2 years in a row, the Blackhawks, and very easily could have lost last year. So that'll be an interesting series, but I think right now Anaheim is probably the team to beat here in this conference.
Fabulous. Awesome job. Thanks for coming on the show. Mike Russo, everybody. I will catch up with you soon enough. I promise you I will get you that beer.
Take care, Bucky. See you, Jared.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
We're gonna take a break. Stay with us here on the Bucky and Sully Show.